are these people?
What was the EPA doing testing right away, Jenna, as far as, I know they were testing basically for vinyl chloride, or were they not? They were just testing for one thing, and then they weren't testing for dioxins, and everybody said something about dioxins, which is why I understand you guys are looking for independent testing support, correct?
Yeah. So what happened was that the train didn't release all of like the whole manifest or whatever of everything that was on that train. So the train derailed on February 3rd. I think the Super Bowl was like February 10th or 12th. The only thing that I think was released was that there was some petroleum, like some, there was vinyl chloride and something else. There were like two things that were in there that were known. And the rest of it was kept top secret until during the Super Bowl. Then they released what specifically was in all of the cars that were on fire. But the EPA chose to test for certain things, I think, based upon those specific reports. We've been partnered with Dr. Andrew Welton from Purdue, and he came in pro bono. And he came in and did what's called like a kitchen sink test. So the idea behind that was you have to test for everything. So that way you can figure out what to test everywhere else. So like you got to test for everything, figure out what's highest. And like those are the things that you're going to test for in every other place. And a few of the chemicals that raised concerns, the EPA had never tested for. I think some of those were like acrylates. A lot of them are very concerning. So there was the EPA and like the mayor and the governor were all like saying, hey, your water's safe, and cheersing drinking somebody's tap water in town when they weren't even testing for the right things. Maybe they were the things to make the test look good, but yeah, so it's been an interesting ride with the community doesn't have a lot of faith in the government officials and what they're testing for. So the independent testing is something that is needed and deserved, just based upon they basically just dropped the ball on taking care of the primary people they should be taking care of, are just Americans, right?
Absolutely.
If I could just speak on what you mentioned about in terms of the distance that these particulate could have traveled. We're talking about a plume that, from the projections that we have using high split, which is the go-to state-of-the-art model for getting estimates of how chemical dispersion happens. By our best models, this created a plume that would have covered, like you said, all of the Northeast, from Ohio up through Ontario, Canada, New York, Connecticut, Maine, all the way up eventually to possibly even reaching Greenland. And the problem is we don't know what chemicals were produced inside the fire. And there has been absolutely no effort to find out what chemicals were produced inside the fire. But what we do know is there is a vast amount of evidence, from video recordings in Ontario to anecdotal accounts for people in Connecticut, New York, upstate New York, all over that area, of people smelling chemical smells that are directly exactly the same as the accounts of chemical smells of people who are 10, 5, 20 miles from East Palestine. So what we're talking about isn't just like what's affecting East Palestine. We have the TikTok was inundated with videos of snowmelt in Ontario, Canada, from multiple people before the Canadian government suppressed all of it, showing snowmelt then with the exact same chemical sheen of what we were seeing in the rivers and creeks around East Palestine. The scale of toxic chemical dispersion that's happened is there's really nothing I can think of that can really be it can really be compared to. Just for example, when I say nothing to be compared to, in the area around East Palestine, the level of death um, of the fauna, the other animals besides humans around this area, deer, fish, aquatic life, insects, bees, it's not at a level of just a lot of them died. It's at a level, and this is not an exaggeration, of a mass extinction. And it is a gigantic amount of damage that we really hasn't even really been looking into exactly how egregious the short and long term damage of the ecological ability of that area to support life is even going to be.
It's crazy. And is the government providing you with any water services, any kind of clean water? In what are they doing? I mean, you can't boil this stuff. I don't know if you know, but I'm sure you know. Erin Brockovich showed up in town. It was a big to do. She's actually been pretty good in keeping the pressure on publicly. Not sure exactly how you feel. I've been a fan of her Substack and of hers for a while, and she's really been looking out for water for all over the country. She was in Jackson and Flint and all over. She was talking about the fact that you can't boil it, and there were resources about, but basically do your own independent testing because you can't trust the EPA was her stance as well, because I know she organized that town hall and everything. Were you at the town hall? Have you had a chance to engage with her? Have you had any interaction with her?
I have not had any interaction with her. Like I said, I'm about 12 miles away. I know she does say 50 miles around is area to be concerned. I know a lot of the residents have had impact, I think, or interactions with her, and she's very knowledgeable and draws really good attention, I think, to the situation. As far as water, it is my understanding FEMA is just there. They're not there in an emergency standpoint for disaster relief. Therefore, there's no government funding. The reason that there's no disaster declaration, in my understanding, is because Norfolk Southern is taking responsibility and cleaning it up. The people that are in the 1 mile zone can be temporarily evacuated right now, which took weeks and a lot of pressure and a lot of media to even make happen while they're digging up some soil. But my understanding is all of the water that they're getting is coming from like our fellow Americans who are donating water. So same with we've gotten air purifiers donated, some like Brita filters donated, different water purifications systems. We're working with a gentleman to install some water purification systems into different homes with like the carbon filters to help provide a little bit of peace of mind. Although I think we all know at this point that it's probably still not safe for them to be in their homes. So
yeah, probably. I mean, they were saying even bathing in it is dangerous still at this point.